This week, we're continuing A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas, otherwise known as Season Pass to That Ass.
Hi, readers. I'm Jordan.
And I'm Katie.
And welcome to Not Another Heroine, the podcast where we break down the best and worst fictional heroines, those swashbuckling ladies who have to work a little harder than expected for their happy ending.
Want to see what's next on our TBR list? Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Instagram for a sneak peek at upcoming content or to help us pick our next book.
We are back with part 3 of Akamath.
We're going to be sweaty.
The never-ending story.
Yeah, it really is.
I feel like we've been talking about Akamath forever.
Mm-hmm. This is the longest that we've spent with one character.
No, we spent a long time with Mel.
Oh, that is true.
I think we did 5 episodes. But
this is part 1 and part 2. Like book 1, book 2.
Yeah.
I don't know that we've done
like one
sequence before. I don't know that I want to do that again.
Let's not.
Yeah, this is kind of brutal.
And we're not even doing this the way we normally approach books with our scripting. Just a peek behind the curtain for how we kind of roll is we write like our plot synopsis. Like we each write a summary. Sometimes we merge them. Sometimes we each write our own. We stole a summary and 100%. Then embellished it. Yeah. And like we've kind of transitioned from like reading almost word for word our scripts and our summaries to like winging it.
Yeah.
So I don't know if our readers can tell from our earlier episodes to now what that looks like or what that sounds like.
I feel like it also depends on the book and like what's needed. Like some of the books that I know that maybe our readers haven't read, I feel like we need to talk about more
and kind of progress more chronologically and not bounce around.
Yeah, but there's like other books that it's like you've read this
like
before.
Come on, this one really.
Yeah. And there's also books that like not a lot necessarily happen, so it's not as important like the summary of events. But I don't know, there's some books that you're like, this has to be told in order or else you're gonna be like, what the fuck is
there's
happening?
Some books that I read straight through and then the next day I couldn't tell you what actually happens.
Oh, 100%. Like all of the books I read in the last like 2 years, like I would struggle to
Like my favorite game is to open up my Kindle app and like, oh, I found this really good book I want to read and I already own it and read it. Like I have no recollection of actually reading this book.
I think the worst one that happened to me was I picked up a book on Kindle Unlimited, I think, and I read the first bit, DNF'd it, and then 3 months go by. I'm at the like Barnes and Noble, and I'm like, "Ooh, this book looks kind of good." It was the book I DNF'd and I bought that bitch. Like, $13 later, I feel stupid, but it's fine. Everything is fine.
I would be so mad.
Girl, at least the cover's pretty, and it's that weird like matte like texture thing.
Oh, I do. Okay, that's fair.
So it like looks nice, but it's one of those that like that's never going to be read.
I did an exercise on my bookshelf, and I pulled out all the books that I either have started and not finished, or haven't even started at all, and it was almost half my bookshelf.
Oh my god, I feel that because like whenever I buy, excuse me, I don't know what that was. Every time I buy books, I always have this like, I'm smart and intellectual, and I get like nonfiction books on like political events, and they sit there forever.
Yeah, you read like you bring it on a plane, like I'm going to demonstrate to the world that I'm a serious reader, and then no.
And then I switch to this on my phone. Yep, every time. Yeah.
Right, the summer court.
That was in sync.
We've been doing this for a while.
I got like goosebumps.
I like it. Well, the fact that we both pictured the summer court as the kingdom from the Little Mermaid.
100%. Yeah. That's what this is.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's like it's on a harbor, right? It's white and gleaming.
There's like gulls cawing in the background and it's like warm. Thank you.
I don't know why I did that.
That was beautiful. Oh. The only thing that I had major beef with this about is how Tarquin, who's the High Lord of the Summer
he's
Court,
very young too. Yeah. He's like 48.
Brain, 48 in Fae years. So he's young.
He's a baby.
Yeah. In my brain, I was like 48. I'm like, ew, that's like old. Sorry if anyone is over the age of, wow. But I mean, like men, when they hit 48 are just kind of like,
oh, keep digging that grave, Katie.
Yeah, I'm 8 feet underground. Anyway, the part I didn't like was his sister is kind of described as like the quintessential mean girl. I didn't love that.
No, and she's like a desperate mean girl.
Yeah, and like her only function is to just have like Reese and Feyre
jealous.
Yeah, I did not love that. Because like we're in the 21st century. Like, do we really need like the mean girl trope in books?
I mean, it's fun sometimes.
Yeah, especially like when they become like a fully fleshed character afterwards, and you're like, oh, that's why you're a bitch because you went through.
That's what she tried to do with fucking Nesta, and it doesn't work. Anyway, Summer Court.
Yeah. I love it. And the part I love the most is Amryn and the like cousins.
The guard. Amryn gets like a boy toy.
I love this concept.
It was so unexpected, but it fit.
Yeah. Because I love the himbo.
I thought you were about to say, I also have a boy toy. That's where I thought that face was going.
Not quite. The himbo trope is like, it has a special place in my heart.
Of all the tropes.
I know.
The himbo.
If you're feeling sad and you just want like a pick-me-up trashy smut thing, there is a fanfic and it's called Season Pass to That Ass.
What?
Yes.
What? No, please state the name of this fanfiction again.
Season Pass to That Ass. But it features like a himbo.
My soul just left my body. Oh my god.
So it features like a himbo Draco who's like a Quidditch player.
Of course it's a Draco story.
I know, I have a type. But he's like a total himbo, like professional, like sports player. And Hermione's like a little bit bigger, and her and Ron broke up. And it's just her having like fun dating a professional athlete, and he's 100% himbo.
You said athlete and I was athlete.
Yes. But it's just such a fun, like, because he's just like no thoughts going on, just like big, gentle, but like himbo. So that's the energy that like Tarquin's cousin is giving me. Just like, not a lot of thoughts, but just like himbo energy. I love that trope. I don't know why. I just like the concept of like a stupid man that's like, I love it.
I'm here and fluffy. Let me give you a hug.
Exactly. I don't know what it is. I love it. Himbo.
And Tarquin is interesting as a character because he feels like a mesh between Tamlin and Reese.
Yeah. He's like the in-between.
Yeah. Like a kind of sophisticated, more reserved maybe than either of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But also still has that like, not childish, but like younger kind of.
A little naive about the world.
Yeah. What is it called? Idealism.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He is probably the most idealistic character in this book.
Which is like refreshing because I don't know, you don't see that with like Faye, that they want to change things.
And the Summer Court people look like the people from Atlantis, the Disney movie Atlantis.
Oh yeah,
like tan but white hair.
Oh
God, you and
beautiful.
The white hair or blonde hair.
I don't know what it is. But it's like, what a beautiful like combo.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so they arrive. There's like, as a delegation, Tarquin and his sister, the princess, come out with their guards, and they're like, "Hello, welcome to the court. Let's hang out." Like they come kind of with no mission other than just to like make friends. I think is how it's presented, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. Well, because they and that was kind of the interesting part is they do have a conversation, I think, before, and they're like, "Why can't we just ask him for the book? Like, he's kind of a cool dude. Like, maybe he'll just give it to us." And it's like, well, like, yeah, but also if he just says no, like, we're 100% fucked.
Yeah, because then he'll know what we're trying to do.
Yeah, because I think that was my favorite part of this whole, like, sequence of events is that Reese is actually upset that when everything goes down and they are, like, banned from the summer court.
Oh, the blood rubies.
Yeah, I loved that.
What a power move, though.
I know!
I'm like, oh, that was hot.
I know! Oh, my God. But I just love that he was like kind of not upset the whole time about this, but he was like really conflicted and like angry that events placed him in this position that he had to like fuck up a friendship. Like, because it's kind of nice. Like, he doesn't have a lot of friends and he's like, I want to have a friend in you, but like, I have to do this really fucked up thing. Like, I felt for him that he had to again sacrifice something.
Yeah.
Oh.
So they spend a few days there. Tarquin invites them on like a river cruise.
I love this part.
And Reese like makes it his mission to get close to Tarquin's sister,
Which, like, why?
I don't know. There didn't seem to be a clear purpose other than to make Feyre jealous.
I know, which I did not love.
So Feyre and Amren and Rhys go on this river cruise. It's a dinner party kind of thing. And she sees Rhys and the princess getting super handsy, super close. And she's like, I don't like this, but I don't want to acknowledge why I don't like this. And so she like goes out on the deck and mopes for a little bit. And then she uses that interaction to like basically blow Rhys off a little bit and like not talk to him, like does the stupid like I'm gonna give you the silent treatment because I don't know any other way to handle my emotions because they're big and scary.
And then she like flirts with Tarquin
and poor Tarquin.
Because that was the part that irritated me the most is he was getting like let me find a better way to actually no, he was getting double dick down, so like you know what I mean. There's not a good like not bad way to say that.
He was I can't say that, but that might have to be the title.
That's fair, because that's what happened. Because like he's getting fucked over by like Rhys, because like they're no longer friends. He's being used, but then also he's getting down like dicked down by Feyre because like Feyre doesn't actually like him.
Feyre's like, oh hi, you handsome big man. Can you show me your treasury? Where I heard you have a lot of jewels, and like. He takes her to like the treasury and gives her like a black diamond necklace. Yeah. And it's beautiful. And she's like, oh, you didn't have to do that. But she takes it anyway. Meanwhile, planning to steal like this family heirloom of a book that his family's been protecting for generations.
Yeah. And then the audacity. What is the line? She's like, you'd be really easy to fall in love with, but easier to be your friend or something.
Oh, fuck
it's like,
off.
That is a very like... coming on to you line, like you did not need to do that. Like there's easier, less like psychotic ways to tell someone they're a good person.
Yeah. No. Oh, definitely playing on his, because Feyre acknowledges that he's attracted to her. Like she recognizes that she's not dumb.
Yeah.
And this is her third relationship or pseudo relationship kind of thing. It just feels icky.
It does. And it's sad too, because he just like gets the short end of the stick on both sides. And it's like, he's just trying to be like a good person. And you guys are just like not telling him anything and then also bamboozling him and being like, look at this hot chick. Oh, she just stole something from you. Anyways.
Yeah.
It's like, bro.
They figure out where the book is being kept, which is on this like rocky outcrop that gets hidden by the tide.
Yeah. Because I kind of imagine, what's that like town in France that like the path to it disappears when the tide goes out?
Oh, I have no idea. It's like that sounds like a place I want to live.
I know. Oh my God, could you imagine?
Wonderful.
But yeah, and it's like spooky and in a bunch of mud. Her and Amren go into it, get stuck, and at the last possible second,
like they're basically drowning.
Yeah,
because like I thought this was again. She does these scenes really well, where like the book is speaking.
Did not like that.
The book is speaking to Feyre, and it's like, "You liar," and I'm like, "Ooh,
that's spooky as fuck."
Yeah, and Feyre's creeped out, but they grab the book. The whole like cavern temple thing that they're in starts filling with water, and just as they're about to drown and die, brilliant storytelling.
Yes.
Fucking brilliant, Sarah. Like, because we're on a first name basis, obviously.
I get it. Us and the celebrity.
What happens?
Incredible. A hand pops out and yanks the fuck out of Feyre and Amren. And it belongs to the sisters or cousins of the chick that she helped during the teeth that couldn't pay for anything. And Feyre's like, take all my jewels, just take it.
The water wraiths.
Yeah, the debt has been paid.
And they're rescued, land on the beach, cough up a bunch of water.
Incredible.
Yep.
Full circle. Because at first I'm like, who the fuck is saving them? And I'm like, whoa!
Just, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
God. Because it's one of those foreshadowing that you're like, I don't know why this scene was included, but I like it because it shows Feyre as like an actual person doing things. And then it comes back around and you're like, holy fuck. Like she kept that in her back pocket until the perfect moment. And then it came out and it feels believable. And you're like, Jesus.
Yep. Wow. Phenomenal. So Rhys, who has been like smacking guards around while they were in the temple, spirit them away. Like they leave the summer court and they leave knowing that like they're on the shit list forever. Because they set off a bunch of alarms. I pictured like the Simply Safe security system.
I know. Yes.
Yep.
But I also like the scene that Rhys, I think it's when him and Feyre are talking about like, because he's kind of giving her the silent treatment because he's upset and they're, I think like upstairs in like a balcony area and he's drinking and being like mopey. And he has this like admittance where he's like, it's been a long time since I've had to do something like this. Like I fucked up. Like I should have taken their memories instead of just knocking them out. But like I was just so
He
like
didn't
overwhelmed
want to be that person.
Yeah, and it's like that's such a good character moment that like why can't we get that for Feyre? Like first of all, but
Yeah.
also shows like what a dynamic character he is and like how he has true feelings and then like those pop out when he can't make the decision that he wants to make.
Imagine if we had gender flipped the two leads.
Ooh.
If Reese was a woman and Feyre was a dude.
God. Okay, so again, it's not the himbo thing, but like the older girl love interest, love it 100%. We never get that, and I want it.
Never in fantasy romance.
Never. The like older, more powerful, like more knowing, and like teaches the
There's
younger.
a whole subgenre of K-dramas that do that.
I am here for it.
Yep.
Because I kind of feel like Crash Landing on You was like a little bit
of that.
It flirted with the idea. But I love that as a concept because it would be nice too, because then you have like a fully developed female like character instead of just like whatever Feyre is.
Which is nothing but gray. And
It's
not morally gray, just gray.
interesting because it would immediately like unleash the bi panic in me. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
like the male interest would be kind of like mid and like, yeah, he's handsome, but like he doesn't have any kind of personality traits and like indifferent. But you know,
Or not
female
even-
Reese,
Not even flip the genders, but just make Reese
a girl.
Yeah, and make her the main character, make her the heroine,
Yes.
and Feyre's the love interest.
Fucking here for it, sapphic romance. Yeah, it would 100% like unlock all kinds of bi panic for me, but that's fine. I'll have an existential crisis for, you know, well-developed female heroine love interest.
But
Sign me up.
it's in this scene where he's like regretting how he handled the guards. I think this is the Blood Ruby scene, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he had like has him on the little table and like I just imagine him like it's kind of like hot that he's like angry and like upset.
Tarquin?
No, Reese during that scene.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. I just kind of like liked that he was like
Not
up to play or whatever he says.
he's not
Like-
in his I can't say the word.
Oh, because it's naughty or
No,
'cause-
it's just yeah.
I don't know what word you're trying.
It's what you called him the last episode.
Himbo?
Simp.
Oh, a simp? Yeah. Because it's cute that he's like, because Feyre's panicking because she's like, I've never seen him like act all like morose and like sad and like, oh, like
Yeah.
I'm going to go to like this lingerie store, which I didn't like because that's
Oh,
not fair to him.
I don't. Also, the whole lingerie thing.
Did not love
If
it.
you've read this book, you know what we're talking about. It felt really out of place. It felt like, oh, this was a scene in a contemporary romance that she saw and liked and wanted to incorporate here.
Yeah.
Like, okay, sorry. Second point, the flirting that kind of ramps up between Reese and Feyre at this part of the book
Yeah.
annoyed the shit out of me because it was not well written. Like, it was super cheesy. It was not creative. It wasn't funny. Like, it didn't read like witty banter. It was just
No.
felt like,
Gross.
oh, we're forcing sexual tension, but it's not really there because this is really shitty. Like, can you
Yeah.
imagine talking to someone the way Reese and Feyre interact?
See, and that's what made the whole scene really cringy. Is like it reads like a 14-year-old's first attempt at sexting. Like,
yeah.
that, it's like I don't want to be involved in this.
No.
Like, no, thank you.
Yeah, if I have any really big complaints, I mean, I think we've had several complaints about
Yeah.
this book, but it was, yes, there's good chemistry between Feyre and Reese.
Yeah.
However, their dialogue is awful.
Horrible, horrific, if not a war crime.
Yeah, I don't like it.
No, because it's annoying because like their chemistry and like banter was good in ACOTAR. So like, why did you have to change things?
I don't
You know what I
know.
mean? Like, why did you have to like force it into some weird like they're both.
And the attempt at like a letter writing trope with them
Yeah.
exchange, like no,
But it was sexting. It wasn't letter writing.
No.
It was sexting. Like they were doing like weird, like, oh, what would you do if I was there? It like triggered the fuck out of me because like a lot of, you know, when you're dating,
oh,
you remember this, right? Yeah. It's sexting.
Oh my God. I never thought of it in that's exactly what it is.
Yep. And it triggered the fuck out of me. It triggered my flight or fight response. Cause like, you know, those like creepy dudes that like are sexting you and it's like, this is gross. Like, I don't know, like you're barely fucking literate. Like, what are you asking of me? And it's like, this was that. And it was just not well done. And it's like, that's not even in Reese's like characterization that he would do something like that. It's like, this is yucky.
Yeah.
Like, ugh.
It didn't belong in the story.
No.
And it just wasn't good. Like, honestly, if they had written it better, I could have handled it. But it was just so trite. And yeah, like a 14-year-old attempting sexting for the first time.
Did not love it. Because you're telling me someone that's been around for like 600 years
is gonna
can think of nothing better than like, oh, what would you do if I was there? It's like the rage I felt as that came out of my mouth. Like that's the like,
and it's just Feyre is just like at her very bottom level is just like a sexual creature, and like that's all she knows how to do. Yeah. Like that's her personality. Be better.
Did not love it. The only thing that was kind of funny was when he like gave her the memory, but she thought it was her own, and then she like ran into the pole. Like that was amusing.
That was a good way to incorporate like the mind games, mind magic stuff that Reese has. But like the texting wasn't necessary.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Yep. So they have their little like whatever like funny moment, and then I also feel like somewhere in between this, he has the dream. Or the nightmare, and she like wakes him up, and that seems like kind of like
you kind of see more of his vulnerability in that scene. He starts displaying more to Feyre, which thank God, because you can't create a relationship without showing like all of yourself.
So they have that scene, and that's like it's cute, better than all of the other whatever the fuck scenes that are happening throughout this. And then it's the Valeris orb scene. Isn't it?
I thought it was the hewn city, but I could be.
Oh, yeah. They didn't even get the orb. Skip past like everything that happened.
So much that this next. Okay. So
this is gross.
Yeah. I forget even why that they need to go into the Court of Nightmares.
So I think it's because the orb of truth or whatever the fuck is in Moore's dad's like rooms.
Oh, and that's right.
Yeah, someone's going to go steal it while they're like the distraction.
And if you're as lost as we were reading this book, they need the Orb of Truth to show the human queens the city of Valeris. Like that's the whole point of this orb, right?
Yeah, but it's like, why did they need...
I don't know.
Again, this just felt like a weird plot device in order to get like some kind of like weird sexy scene.
Yeah. So Reese kind of braces Feyre to be like, hey, like I am going to be a different person when we go into the hewn city, the Court of Nightmares. Like I am the Dark Lord. So just be prepared for that. And so Moore gets Feyre ready because Moore is from the Court of Nightmares. She's like a duchess there or something,
like the regent or something.
Yeah, and so they put Feyre in the clothes that she was wearing in ACOTAR, like the super skimpy toga thing that's basically see through.
Yeah.
And put shit ton of makeup on her, and she's presented as basically Reese's whore.
I'll hold my comments. Please continue.
But that's like the point, is they want to show that Feyre is really like kind of powerless, and she's just like a plaything, and to emphasize Reese as still like this dark, temperamental, like could destroy you with a thought, like has no regard for like emotions or anything. And so they go to the Court of Nightmares, and this is to allow Azriel and Cassian to go find the orb, right? And this is where we get the sexy scene. And it's just
because like what it doesn't like ring true or like make sense to me is like this felt like a really poorly created like plan when Reese, you would think, would have a lot of trauma from being perceived as like the whore. So it's just like, why would he default to that? You know what I mean? Like they had plenty of time to come up with like maybe a more not bad plan.
Also, why did they need to bring Feyre in the first place?
Yeah.
Like if you want to show that she's worthless, don't bring her.
Yeah.
So they go there, he holds court, he sits on his throne, and Feyre sits on his lap and then gets fondled.
Yeah. Very
overtly.
Yeah. But also like very like why to that degree?
Yeah. Like, and it's not, I would say it's like borderline PG-13.
Yeah.
Like it's but it feels gross because Feyre like knows what she's doing but ends up enjoying it, and it's like exhibitionism just for the sake of having it in the book.
Yeah.
And that's fine if that's what you're into, and if you want to have like a darker turn in this book.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like it just felt forced, and unnatural for Feyre. Especially she had such a hard time going to see the bone carver under the mountain, and suddenly she's fine getting fondled on someone's lap under the mountain in a scene very reminiscent of Amarantha's court, and she's fine. She's actually getting turned on.
I don't even think about that because, that doesn't make any sense.
And if I have to read one more time of a hot Fey male or this male or that male, the number of times this author uses male to describe a dude character, I don't like it. I don't know why I don't like it. It just feels gross.
It feels gross because it's like that weird, like biological, like they're not like humans with, comprehensive like thinking systems and like can make decisions and agency and like hold back on doing like gross things. It almost like makes them into just like
animalistic.
Beasts. I did not love that.
I think you kind of, that's right there. It's an animalistic portrayal of dudes because somehow that's hot.
Yeah. And like you can do the like possessive dominant thing, but I think it's problematic when you tie it to some sort of like biological urge. Because I think that just makes it sort of like not a scapegoat, but like excusing certain behaviors that are not okay and shouldn't be accepted. And it's just like, oh, they can't control it because it's like, they can't control their maleness. And it's like, but they can.
And you know what, maybe the intent of using like male to describe all the dudes here is not to use man because it's a human word, but still.
Yeah, you could literally use any other term or just not use that at all. Yeah, and the part I also didn't really love now thinking about it, especially when you brought up that point, is like Rhys didn't tell her he was going to fondle her.
No.
You know what I mean? So it's like one thing if she was like on board with a little bit of like exhibitionist.
But she encourages it though. Like she like squirms into it more.
Yeah.
I feel gross just describing this scene.
I know. But it's one of those things that like, if that's what you want to do, that's totally fine. But like you 100% need to have a conversation about that and like establish boundaries and like, that was very obviously not a discussion that they had beforehand. So it's just a weird combination of like Rhys having this really specific trigger about being perceived as like the whore, then making Feyre be the whore, and then also not having like a conversation about like how handsy this was going to get in a very like exhibitionist way. That like the whole combination of it is like, this feels out of character and like gross a little bit.
And the scene lasts for quite a while.
Yeah.
It just keeps going. I think that's kind of where I fell off of reading and finishing this book, is that scene really turned me away from this book.
I could see that. And it's like, I get it. Like she's trying to put like little smutty scenes. And like, I did kind of appreciate the fact that, Feyre has a little bit of a panic attack where she's like, oh no, that's like my body's response and not like me thinking about it. It's like, okay, I appreciate that. But like, there was ways that you could have handled this whole scene just like a little bit differently and had it be like less gross. But they get the orb, so apparently it's all like, cool. And I kind of also don't know how I feel about, so like Feyre's walking away because they've gotten the orb and they've like signaled Rhys and he knows it or whatever, and she's walking away, and Moore's dad like says like, oh, you whore or something, and then like it's like, why did you need to add that in there?
Just as a way to make Rhys react and defend her, and like so Rhys has a extreme of a reaction because he's pretending to be this evil lord, and he like cripples Moore's dad, who's like witness to this whole exhibition, and like instructs him not to get a healer, like breaks his arm in like 5 different places because he calls Feyre a whore, which is the whole purpose of this scene.
So it's because again, like why and like Rhys, if you actually wanted to demonstrate that she's just a plaything and you don't give a shit about her, you wouldn't react at all to that. Exactly. And also, why in the Court of Nightmares would doing all of that be gross? You know what I mean? Like, isn't that their whole point, is that everything is like,
well, like, especially women are just
limits. So it's like, why really is that the line that you're drawing? And like,
it just felt weird.
I agree. So that's kind of sad, but really, they find the thing, and then the queen's right back that they'll come talk to them again or something, or they say they have the orb to show them, and they pop up at the house. And this part I did kind of like because the queen still were like, that's not good enough. And it was one of those like, ah, you fucking bitches, just give them the book. Like it was, oh my God. Like I like it when I get kind of like mad at characters' decisions because they like still are like, no, that's not good enough. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, like I'm gonna throw my book across the room. I appreciated it.
Yeah.
But what I didn't totally, well, I did like it. I'll actually say that. So it's like the two queens come. The older one who's like a total bitch, and then the younger one who was like supposedly supposed to be the actual bitch, but she secretly leaves the half of the book under her chair with a note that says like, don't trust the other queens. And that immediately, like the hairs raised up on my arms. I'm like, what the fuck is happening in the mortal lands right now? Like they got some like beef between the queens. And I feel like that should have been your first like, oh no, like something sus is happening.
This alliance is not going to work.
Yeah. And it's kind of funny because like they don't even think twice about that until like everything goes to shit with Hybern at the end, which will be in part 4. But it's just like, that didn't raise any alarms for like anyone, but that's fine.
And then in the meantime, Amren is working on translating, like relearning the holy language that this book is written in.
Mm-hmm. Which I love too, that like, because the whole buy-in for Amren is that this might give her a way to go home. So that whole concept was like kind of cool to me, that she just wants to go home and she's been stuck in this like crazy land for...
The fact that she's like an otherworldly creature.
Love it.
Oh, it's so good.
Give me more female characters like this that are just like big and bad.
Amren and Moore like, carried the female heroine thing for this book.
Yeah. Which is sad because like Feyre should have been doing that.
And Nesta. I'll throw it on Nesta for that matter.
I know,
too.
honestly, frankly. Yeah. So it's just kind of, And then I don't really understand the whole, like, why they went to the Illyrian lands to, like, check in on them. It's like, why? I don't quite understand that. But again, I feel like it was just a mechanism for them to have another smutty scene, the, like, one bed trope.
I either read this and don't remember it.
That's fair.
Or I didn't read it yet or reread it yet. So please continue.
Yeah, because like they go off to practice their magic or whatever. And I think sometime during this, they go off to practice and like somehow use Royce uses his magic, which is being tracked by someone, which like I didn't really understand how they could even do that, but like, okay. And then Lucian pops up to snag Feyre and take her away. But then like Feyre's like, no, I'm staying here. And Lucian's like, oh, what?
You traitorous bitch.
Yeah, basically. And it's like, I liked that, you know, this was an additional scene, but it also just like makes Tamlin that much less redeemable, that he's like still sending people to like basically like potentially be put to death if they're found in like another court. So like, that's kind of crazy, but like, again, but they brush it off and nothing happens. So it's kind of like, okay, why was that thrown in there? And then they have the one bed trope where they go to an inn and there's only one room available.
Good God.
Yeah, and then we get another smutty scene where it's a smutty scene. One bed, you can assume what happens, but it's not, you know, the full smutty scene that happens in later chapters. But really the whole point of this whole trip was just to get Feyre and Rhys alone so they could have that scene, and then also so that he could be flying and then get shot through with ash arrows, get poisoned and fall and lose Feyre, and they can't find each other and he's taken by people.
Oh,
and
that's intriguing, actually.
Yeah.
I didn't know that happens.
Yeah.
But I like a little like, oh, the main dude needs to be rescued and the heroine has to step up.
Yep. I appreciated that because it is Feyre like basically using all of her skills then to try to hunt him down and find him, and then she gets her revenge on like the fucking soldiers.
Oh.
But we'll talk about that in part 4 because there's a little, you know, serial gossip.
I am gonna keep on reading.
That's fair. If you could just like skim past all of the like whatever the fuck Illyrian whatever and then the smutty scene and then just get to like I think after that.
Okay.
Yeah, and then action starts again.
And then we will finally be done.
Yes. We have one more
Finally.
episode. And it's hard because like I like these books and I like these characters and I like what happens in them, but it's just exhausting.
There's so much. There's so very much that happens here.
Yeah. It's just a lot. A lot.
Well,
We did it.
if you're still with us,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
We promise it's just one more part.
Yep.
And yeah,
Well, I at least hope you guys are like enjoying this as you're listening to it, and it's not like you're feeling the exhaustion that we're feeling.
What I hope is the way we kind of go through these stories and treat these books in our reviews is that you kind of get to relive the scenes.
Yeah.
If you have enough of a memory of these books, because we all know that some of us don't. But hopefully it triggers like reading this book for you if you've already read it.
Yeah.
Or it inspires you to pick up the book and read it yourself.
100%.
I think that's what we're shooting for here.
Yeah. And I also think it's cool too, because I feel like there's not a lot of venues to have actual kind of intellectual discussions about the pros and cons of books, especially popular ones, without getting just fucking demolished for no reason.
We kind of touch on some of the more literary things that you can talk about with writing.
Yeah.
But we're really just talking about what do these scenes mean to you? Like how, if these were real people
Yeah.
and they're interacting with you in your world, like, is it believable? Is it realistic? Do you like these people? How could it be better? How could it be worse?
Yeah. Because I feel like a lot of times reviews on Goodreads are just like, this wasn't smutty enough, or like, oh my God, I love this book and it was amazing. And
Or it's a novel from someone with an English, like a master's in English or literature.
Like, I don't care about sentence structure really that much unless it's like not readable. So it's just fun to talk about like actual plot points and like, hey, like maybe this character wasn't quite developed as much as they should have been. And like, oh, she is a little bit of a Bella Swan. Which is kind of sad because I feel like Bella at least was a little bit more like mature and like in control of her personhood than Feyre is.
Bella as a bland character is a more relatable bland character because she is just a little bit more, like you said, reserved.
Yeah. Feyre's just kind of like grumpy all the time.
She's a bit of a tramp. That's all. I'm just going to say it.
I love that your like properness is coming out. It's like, she slept with 3 men. What a tramp.
But for real, no judgment here.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So stay tuned if you would like to hear some traumatizing stories from Jordan's childhood.
We got a little distracted at the start of this episode, and so we have cut it and put it at the end so you can get right into the actual story. But if you want some sidebar stories from...
Yeah, it made me sad, but it's also adorable.
It's pretty funny.
Talk about baby Jordan.
I can laugh looking back on it. So stay tuned if you need some more entertainment in your life.
It's definitely like a relatable story.
If anyone out there listening is in their mid-30s, they would remember this era of reading.
Yes.
Yeah,
to traumatize everyone equally.
Yeah. Well, from our shelf to yours.
We'll see you on the next page. Can you read smut in public?
Yes.
I can too.
I do have a traumatic story about that.
Oh my God, girl. Bring it on.
Oh my God. Okay. So this was back before Kindles. So I was I was still riding the school bus because I couldn't drive yet. I was probably 13 or 14 years old.
Oh, so like middle school?
Middle school.
Ugh.
So it was
Kids are savage.
It was already a very dark time in my life. And I had just started reading like trashy historical romance. And like not like filled with sex and smut, but like books at that time were still having like the really bad titles, like The Touch of Fire.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that was the name of the book because this is ingrained in my memory. But you could buy book covers that were very like nondescript. Like it was like a leather book cover and you slid.
Oh,
do you remember those?
Yeah, and the like fabric ones that you stretch over your textbooks and stuff. Yeah.
So they made those. And so I used them for when I was reading these trashy books in public.
Fair.
And I would always I would be that nerdy girl on the bus, like curled up in a seat, like leave me the fuck alone. I have my book. And we get to my stop on the way home. And I left my book on the bus. Oh no. And like, I think I left the book on the bus because it was the one time that another girl talked to me and like we were having a conversation. I was like, oh,
friendship.
Maybe we could be friends. And like, she was cool and kind of like edgy. And I'm like, this is kind of neat. But because I was talking to somebody like I never did at that time, I completely left my book. And so the next day, this girl was like 3 seats behind me and she passed the book up.
No.
And I was horrified.
Oh my
because
God.
It was a like Western romance. Just, it looked bad. I mean, it was a good book.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I think I still have it, but Scarred for life.
That's fair, because that's one of those that you know some like snotty fucking 13 greasy-year-old boy like picked it up and was like giggling with his friends at like the like, oh my god, they're kissing. And it's like, you're a fucking like, you haven't showered in 14 days, like, bruh.
Yeah. So reading that in
my
public.
God.
But then I kind of had sweet revenge on someone who did not deserve it ever. One more story for our readers. We might cut this later.
No, this is excellent.
So again, back before Kindles and you could hide your guilty reading pleasures on like your phone. I lived at the public library.
Aw.
Like walked there after school.
I did not know
I
this.
was such a nerd.
That's okay. That's okay. Safe space.
Continue. So I would like check out stacks of books at a time, and I would order books to be picked up from like other library branches.
Oh,
right. So I was at a Girl Scout troop meeting. You're getting a glimpse into young Jordan, and it's. And so I asked my mother if she could please pick up my library holds for me when she came to get me from my Girl Scout meeting. And this poor woman who only reads nonfiction. Only. I think she reads a little bit more now and like some more contemporary fiction and stuff. She went to the library to pick up my holds. And I don't know if any authors know the author, or any readers know the author Sherilyn Kenyon.
I don't think so.
She writes like paranormal, trashy romance.
I love this.
Every single book in her series at that time had a half-naked man on the front of it. And it always had like hunting vampires or hunting heat or something like that. And like when you get these holds at the library, at least back then, you didn't always know which version of the book you were getting. And so she went to pick it up from the library, and my poor mother, she picked me up from Girl Scouts. She's like, if you ever make me pick up, threw this book at me. Because my mother is a very like pretty proper, very like, you're coming to Christmas, you'll see. Yep. So so now I no longer give a shit. I will read whatever in public. But there's two stories for before the Kindle days.
I don't know that I had anything like that, but that's such a. I love this concept of like baby Jordan. Like, oh God, what a horrible dark time! Like for everyone, like middle school is never good for anyone.
Like I'm pretty sure junior high and middle school, like kids at that age are pure evil.
Yeah, 100%. Well, isn't that like a thing? Like when your brain is restructuring itself, your like empathy is like non-existent. So you're just a fucking like I was
psychopath.
About to say the C word, but
like yes,
yeah. God. See, that's why like I don't know. I just want to be like the cool like aunt. Like, no, here's your trashy romance, you 13-year-old girl. Just maybe make healthy relationship habits too.
Be proud of it. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad that like Gen Alpha and like Gen Z are just like out there living their lives. They're like, yeah, I read trashy, smutty, fake porn.
And they're proud of it. Like there's Instagram reels and TikToks. So like bragging about reading this stuff. I'm like, thank God. Where was this when I was 12?
Okay. That's how I feel about like fan fiction too. Cause like there's been a lot of like reels I've seen about like fan fiction stuff. And I'm like, y'all have not been in the like trenches of, 13,
you
14.
have not earned the right to read these stories, okay?
Traumatized. You'd have to like watch all the tags to make sure you're not reading some like crazy fucking like, ooh. But yeah, I'm just glad that the world is a better place for kids.
So much better.
If not worse, but better in some aspects.
Yeah. We're definitely, I think what I've noticed is everyone is much more accepting of different and new. And it's just lovely.
Hi, readers. If you'd like to help us pick our next book, send us a message on Instagram.
Or if you'd like to just listen, we post new episodes every Monday and Wednesday on Spotify, Apple, and Amazon. Thanks for listening.
Bussin'.